Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome to Breaking Down the Binge. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to overcome stress and emotional eating. My name is Shira Nelson, and I am a fat loss and lifestyle coach for Mom Beyond Baby. So I work with so many moms, and one of the main reasons they're not getting result is because of stress and emotional eating. So like they're doing really well, and then all of a sudden emotions hit and there they go, they binge. And so I thought this was such a good topic to go over and kind of teach you some of the things that I've used with clients, I've used with myself, to kind of help you overcome this struggle with food. So let's get started. So during this live training, you are going to learn 5 proven tactics and tools I use to overcome stress and emotional eating, how to finally escape the cycle of binge eating, how to adopt a lifestyle without a diet, the tools I use with clients to regain control with and around food, the #1 thing that is stopping you from breaking the binge, a solution to your battle with food, and how to create a healthy relationship with food. And that is key to achieving your goals, losing fat, and feeling great in the process. So if you have questions, there's a chat box to your right, and you can go ahead and write in your questions as you have them, and then I will answer all of them at the end. I'll also have 2 giveaways at the end of the training, so make sure you stay online for that. Again, this will be recorded, so if you have to go, it will be sent to you via email. A little bit about although I spent many years in therapy dealing with binge eating, I'm not either of those things. But what I am is a certified fat loss hormonal coach. And so what I do is I coach women on losing fat, but also I look at the hormonal aspect, because we know that losing fat goes beyond what you eat and how much exercise you do. There's so much bigger of a picture in there. So that's kind of what I do. And in that, I teach intuitive eating, which means, having a healthy relationship with food so that you can finally stop the binge. So first, I think it's important to go over what is a binge. A binge is when you eat, you're eating emotionally. So you might not call it a binge. You might call it like, I just felt out of control, or I just kind of flew off the handle. But whatever it is, it's an emotional response to eating. So you might feel out of control. You might feel lonely. You might feel embarrassed, secretive. You might feel like you're on a rampage. If you're super stressed out, then you're just kind of raiding the pantry. So I know I spent years feeling very out of control at times, but also very embarrassed. It was a very hush-hush thing. I rarely talked about it. In fact, when I got married, I was kind of worried that my husband would kind of know my secret. And actually, one of the gals in my coaching club kind of talks about that. It's kind of like her little secret that she has. It's like the one thing that she feels it's like hers, and as a mom, we share everything, right? We're so busy taking care of everyone else that sometimes we feel like this is our thing, right? We're going to go at night and we're going to raid the pantry. So the binge is often related to the cycle of pain. So that means we restrict, then we binge, and then we have massive guilt. And it's this cycle that we stay in. It's this urgency that we feel we need to lose weight. It's like we need to lose it yesterday. And so we feel the need to restrict food. And we know that however much we restrict is going to lead to a binge, and then we're going to feel bad. And then what happens when we feel bad, right? We restrict more. We get even tighter with our diet so that we binge more. And so when a diet is too rigid, our mind focuses on what we cannot have. It's just the psychological part of the mind, and it's not long before we go into that binge part of the cycle. So what happens during a binge? There's 2 things that happen. You have an emotional response. The here I go again, whatever, I'll just start tomorrow. You feel guilty, you have remorse, you feel like a failure, like, gosh, I can never stick to a plan. So you start to beat yourself up emotionally, like, why am I doing this? I'm so out of control, I always do this. Those feelings start to happen. And then you also have a physical response where you might get a stomach ache, you might start to get a headache, you might feel lethargic and tired. I remember years I would go to bed feeling almost sick to my stomach. I mean, just so tired and lethargic. My stomach hurt because of what I would eat at night, kind of to make up for the day. So it's this going to bed upset, but also going to bed with this physical feeling, bloated, that extra feeling, that weight that you're feeling. So After a binge, you feel upset, right? You feel guilty, you feel shameful, remorse. And I love this quote. It's when I eat when I'm upset, I'll only end up with two problems. The problem that made me upset in the first place, and then the feeling of feeling bad about myself and my eating. So you ask yourself, do I want to have one problem or two problems? And I know that's not something we ask ourselves in the middle, but I thought that was really good to kind of think about it in a way of, okay, so I had a bad day, I'm going to binge. So now I had a bad day and I feel gross, or I feel guilty, or I feel shameful. So why do we do it? Why do we binge? So there's three main reasons why we binge. Hunger, we're truly hungry. So when we become ravenous as humans, we no longer think about what we're going to eat. We no longer are in that mindset where, okay, I'm going to make a healthy choice tonight, right? Once we get to that point of hunger, we become ravenous and we just start to eat. Have you ever come home and you feel like, I'm just going to just go for the goldfish? So that's kind of that hunger. The deprived. So when you become deprived and you deprive yourself, you tell yourself things are off limits, you can no longer have certain things, your body becomes restricted and your body says, I'm going to focus on what I can't have, and then you become deprived, in fact, that you do binge. And then there's the emotional side. So you could feel lonely, bored, avoidance, the control. A lot of moms that I work with, we kind of feel like we need to control everything. We're controlling naps, we're controlling toddlers, husbands, house. And so it's like the one time where you can actually like let go and just let it all out. So those are the three main reasons that we as humans binge. So coping and breaking with the emotional eating cycle. So here we are, we feel bad, we binge, we have temporary relief because food does do good things for us, and then we start to feel bad again, physically and emotionally, and we go through the binge. So this is kind of another illustration to show you that cycle. So how do we do it? How do we cope, and how do we actually break this binge? I'm going to be going over 5 steps in the next slides to kind of talk about this, but it's important to know the main thing is that we need to figure out what's triggering it. Why are we binging? Why are we going to the pantry every night? And I think the main thing to know is that it has nothing to do with willpower. And I know we beat ourselves up, oh man, I did it again. Why can't I ever stick to it? But really it has nothing to do with willpower, because willpower is not something that everybody has. It's something that you actually learn. And I don't know about you, but if you are with a baby all day, or you're at a full-time job and you come home and you're doing dinner and bath, you're doing all these things, your mind is gone, right? You only have so much mental energy in a day. And so at night, you have very, very little mental energy left. You have very little physical energy left, right? You're exhausted, you're tired. So it's not about not having the willpower. It's about you've kind of used up all of your emotional and your physical energy throughout the day. So it's very easy to just say, you know what, I'm just going to have ice cream tonight. And then it starts to, trigger into a little bit more, maybe I'll have a little bit of this. And so it's kind of finding the balance between the emotions and your food, and finally developing that healthy relationship with food, which is something that we as women really don't know that much about, right? Because we're emotional people anyway. So then you throw food into the picture and it's like a party. So we're going to go over 5 steps to actually coping and breaking with emotional eating. The first step is acceptance. And I know this seems kind of like woo-woo, but it's really taking a minute to acknowledge that you're about to binge. When you do this, the cycle shortens, because normally when we binge, we just go for it, and then after we have all these feelings, right? But when you actually are going to raid the pantry, you're going to indulge, and you actually stop for a second and think, okay, I'm about to binge, like here I am. You ask yourself questions. Am I going to feel guilty after this? Am I going to feel shameful? Am I going to feel like a failure? And the key is to identify those triggers. So for an example, if I'm headed to eat peanut butter, ice cream, and chips, I stop for a second and I realize that I just had a fight with my husband. So now I can do the other things that I have in my toolbox, which is going to be the next step. I can focus on my action plan. I can focus on the things that I know I should be doing because I stopped for a second. Had I not stopped, I would be into the ice cream, the peanut butter, and then after I would say, gosh, I really shouldn't have done that. What happened, and these are the things that I work with the girls. But over time, you start to acknowledge and you start to make small changes that take a great effect. So you're going to be able to recognize and acknowledge actually why you're going for the binge, because there always is a reason. So like we talked about, it's either hunger, deprivation, or some sort of emotional response. So the next step is to create a toolbox. And when I say toolbox, I'm not talking about, going to brush your teeth. I'm talking about a toolbox of things, what to do when you feel a binge coming on, because normally we can feel it. We are driving home from work, we're stuck in traffic, you start to get that stress mode, you walk in and you have a screaming toddler, you have people to feed, you have a house that's a mess, you start to feel that anxiety build up. You start to know, like, I'm getting ready to head for the food, or you're one of those times. So a toolbox is things that you can do. So examples would be a gratitude journal, restorative activities, workout, go for a walk, phone calls. They must be things you're going to do, and they must be things that you actually want to do. So for example, if I feel a binge coming on at night, I have things that I'm going to do. I'm going to read. I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start, in my journal. I'm going to go on the internet. There's so many things that I can do now instead of just, brush my teeth and go to bed, because that doesn't work, right? It maybe works for a week, maybe a few days, but after a while, it doesn't work. And this kind of puts the power back with you. You are in control now because you have a list of what you're going to do rather than binge. So what's the next step? An action plan. And this is so huge for us as moms, because no one ever checks up on us, right? Like, no one asks us, how are you doing today? We're worried about everybody else, but no one really checks in with us. So 4 questions to ask yourself when you feel a binge coming on. Am I hungry? Am I truly hungry? If you're truly hungry, that's a sensation in your stomach. It's not a mind. It's not I just need the ice cream because it feels good. Hunger is a true feeling that you feel. What am I feeling? So am I upset? Am I stressed? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Tired is a huge trigger for us as moms to raid the pantry at night, right? We're exhausted, and there we go. What do I need? Do I need more time in the day? Do I need more sleep? What do I need as a mom? And not saying that that's going to happen, but you can start to create an action plan. Like, I am really sleep deprived. I need to figure out a way to get a little bit of time for myself, take some time for myself, fit in a 10-minute workout, whatever it is, so that I feel fulfilled. Because when we don't feel fulfilled, we're going to turn to food because it numbs us. It makes us feel good. It soothes us. And then the last one is a big one, would you please? So would you please is a big one. Like, you're actually asking someone for help. You're actually asking, your husband to do something, your kids to do something for you, asking for help. So actually, voicing things that you need to help you. So here's a tool that I use with my clients, and this helps us learn the triggers. So it's a quick chart that they keep, and you track the times, what you eat, your hunger level, and then the big one is you track the feelings before and after, and then the precipitating event. So you can start to track, and you'll start to notice patterns on when you are binging and actually why you're binging. One of my clients found out the time she binged was like at that 5 o'clock hour after work, because she's stressed, she's hungry, she hasn't eaten since lunch, and so from there we were able to create workarounds to help her kind of take the edge off and no longer have that time of binge. And so that's kind of what we did after we saw this chart. So step 4, this is huge, is practicing moderation. And what does moderation mean? It means giving yourself wiggle room throughout the day to indulge without guilt. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you a link to go to my top preemptive cheats. And a preemptive cheat is something that we use a lot to take the edge off. So it takes the power away from food, that it's off limits, because you really can't have anything, you just can't have everything. And I mean that, like, you can't have the whole pizza, but you can have a slice of pizza. And so once you start to practice, and it's definitely a practice, it's not something we learn tomorrow, you realize that you're in control, you're in the driver's seat. You still have structure, but it's structure that you can adhere to. You can, when you can have a glass of wine during the week, you can have a piece of chocolate after lunch, it's much easier to stick to than trying to white knuckle your way through and saying, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this. We know that after a while, you're going to cave and you're going to just have it. The last step is intuitive eating. So I talked about that a little bit, is how to eat for your body, how to respect your body, and how to finally have control over your body and your food. So I always ask my coaching girls, did that choice love you back? So if you binge, that choice doesn't love you back, right? We know what kind of emotional response, we know what kind of physical response we get from that. So when you ask yourself the questions, am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I stressed? Do I even know? I have my girls track their hunger, energy, and cravings before they eat and after they eat. And some of them have no idea. Like, I don't even know if I'm hungry. I think I'm eating just because I think it's time to eat, or I think I'm eating because I'm stressed. I'm not even really sure if I'm really hungry because I've never really taken the time to think about it. So when you finally take charge, you have all the control. You know your body, and then you can start to create the plan that's meant for you. Not the plan that works for your neighbor, not the plan that works, that was on Google, but the one that works for you, the one that you can sustain and maintain. And I know it's a fear, like, oh, it's going to take the fun out of food, and by all means does it not, because you really can have anything. So you're going to go out with friends, you're going to have some alcohol, you're good to go. It's not, oh, I can't because I'm on a diet because I need to lose, blank pounds. You know what you're getting into. So here's a little chart about the relationship with food. And as you can see, food is not bad, right? It tastes good, it's there, but you can see kind of how it serves you and how it uses you as a disservice. So when you say hello to moderation and intuitive eating, you can have both. You can have food that serves you because it tastes good, because we should never eat food that doesn't taste good, right? We all know that. It tastes good, it's fun, it's social. You can have all of that, but then you don't have the part where it's making you overweight and it makes you feel guilty. We shouldn't really, we want to take away that guilt. We want to get away from feeling guilty when we eat. And that's part of learning how to eat intuitively and kind of embrace that moderation piece. So number one reason you're still binging, a diet sets you up to binge. So restrictive eating leads to a binge later. Binges will always happen when you're on a diet. So every time you go on that next diet and you're looking for that next plan, you're going to binge, because a meal plan gives you absolutely no control, right? I mean, sure, you feel structured, you feel in control because someone's telling you what to eat, but if you have no control, you're going to end up eating things that you want, because that's how our bodies work. So when you take away the diet, you take away the expiration date, you take away that need to lose weight yesterday, and you start this process. While it's slower, it's something that we can sustain and maintain, and you begin to personalize your strategy so that it's something that you can do for life. It's not something that you have to say, oh, after these 12 weeks, what am I going to do? It's something you can continue to do for life, which is the best part. So there's that little cycle again. Here's another chart about the diet mentality versus the non-diet mentality, and I broke it up into eating, exercise, and progress, because those are kind of the main three categories that we can feel like, yep, I'm definitely still in that dieter category, or nope, I'm more, I think I'm leaning more towards the non-dieter. So you can see, a dieter is always thinking they're going to deserve food. If I eat it, I'm going to make up for it. You always feel good or bad based on how you eat, or how much exercise you did, or what the number on the scale says. You start to feel guilty. Cardio makes you feel like you worked out harder rather than, doing the best exercise for your body and for fat loss. So this is kind of a chart, and it helps break it up so you can really see where you are. And I think we've all been on the dieter, yes? I mean, I think I definitely lived there for a very long time, and I'm sure you have too. At some point, you felt in that dieter and you kind of feel trapped in there. It's not where you want to be, but you feel trapped. Like, how do I get out of here? I know at one point I thought, how do people live in moderation? Like, that's not even possible. How can you do that? I never thought it was a process that I was able to get, but the best part was when you become that non-dieter, the fat loss becomes automated. You find your fat loss formula and you automate that part of your life. So food is fuel, food is there, food is fun, but it's not your life. You're not living to eat anymore. You're more of the eating to live type. So I know the question is, will I just eat everything in sight without a diet? Will I eat everything in sight without a plan? Without, what am I going to do? Am I going to blow up to whale status? And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to, because you're going to find your fat loss formula. So fat loss becomes effortless. You understand fat loss and how your body burns fat. But more importantly, you learn how to eat in moderation and how to eat intuitively, so that fat loss is for you. So what works for me may not work for you, might not work for your neighbor, but you have a plan that's for you. And so you know that you can drink a glass of wine and you're not going to blow up overnight. You're not going to feel guilty about it. You're going to wake up and you know exactly what you need to do. You know what you need to do when you do overindulge. You know how to kind of get rid of that bloated feeling without making up for it with hours of exercise, or making up with it with not eating, until 12 the next day because you're going to skip breakfast because you had so much at night, right? So I think we've all been to that place where we feel like we need to make up for it. So you start to learn these strategies and you become aware of the exercise that you're doing and how it controls your hunger, energy, and craving, rather than, takes it out of whack. When I was training for a marathon, I gained 15 pounds. Training for a marathon, running miles and miles and miles, and I never really realized what I was doing was actually making my hunger, energy, and cravings worse. So the Healthy Mom Lifestylers Club is a club that I run, and it's an exclusive club for moms. It's a transformation system. It's a solution to your battles with food. It's basically fat loss without a diet, where you learn how to eat intuitively, you learn moderation, and you learn how to actually ditch the diet. So you're getting results with a plan that's made for you. So I teach you how to lose fat without a diet, and we call it the good life. And there's a picture of the accountability log that they have, and here I've outlined kind of the big rocks of fat loss, to teach them how to lose fat without obsessing. So it kind of gives them things to check off and turn in, so that they're being held accountable. Because like we said, no one ever checks on us, right? Like no one ever worries about if we had breakfast or we had our water or whatever we had. So this is a really great way for them to keep track, earn some points, get some prizes, fun stuff like that. So here is a picture of the portal, and this is an online portal that they get access to with all of this stuff that I give them. So daily coaching, fat burning workouts, recipes, support, accountability, motherhood, and your access to this online portal with all of your workouts, lifestyle tools, nutrition, everything you need to learn how to become this intuitive eater and how to practice moderation. A lot of the moms I work with, they start with, well, I just need a plan, and then they start to realize, like, wow, this is really great. Like, I'm losing fat, but I'm not obsessed. I can have carbs. This is really good. I can have carbs. I can get a 20-minute workout in. So they start to realize how amazing it is when you actually learn, your fat loss formula, and you figure out how to kind of take control of that stress and emotional eating, because there's a better way. There's a better way than just being on a diet. So this is big picture stuff. It goes beyond the before and after picture. In the group, we talk about our binges. You can see from the quote above, she talks about her stressful day with her kids and her binge eating. It's about creating a lifestyle that you can maintain and sustain, and you never diet again. So people who come to me have usually tried every program because they're dieters. They've wanted a program, and then they realize, guess what? It's not going to work. The diet lets you lose weight, and then you regain it, and then you restrict and binge, and they're in that cycle. So they come to me, and they're finally done with that cycle. So with that said, make sure you write your questions in the chat box to your right, and I have 2 fantastic giveaways for you tonight. So the first one is my top 8 preemptive cheats, like we talked about. So ways to kind of take the edge off and learn more about moderation. And you can write this down, www.shiranelson.com/cheats after the webinar, and that will be available to you. So I have those written out for you, and a little description of what those are. So those are things that I use with my clients to kind of take the edge off. So it's things that taste great, but they're still fat loss friendly, and they kind of help you create those workarounds at those times when you do feel like you're going to binge eat or indulge or have a stressful eating moment. And then also the Healthy Mom Lifestylers Club, for 24 hours for you only, is a 50% off. So if you want to go to www.shiranelson.com/momclub, that will give you a discounted code for 50% off, and that's valid for 24 hours for you, because I really feel like I need to extend that offer for you. You came here for a reason, so you've learned things about stress and emotional eating, but I also feel like you need that solution. You need to learn how to live the good life, and that's what I'm here for. So now I'd like to open it up to questions. If you have questions, please post them in the chat box to the right. And if you have any others, you can feel free to email me at info@SharonNelson.com. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, I'll go over to the chat box and see. Any questions? All right, I don't see any questions. So if you do have any questions, make sure you email me at info@SharonNelson.com. Thank you so much for spending your night with me. I know you are super busy. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn with me, and I look forward to working with you. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here.